Hello guys, I'm here. I messed up my other video, so we're here. So we're gonna watch this video. Oh God, can't see it. Twist it like this, and then here. Go on. I can't even see where
Joining us now is Chris Hayes, the host of All In with Chris Hayes on this network, who just conducted that town hall in Indiana with Elizabeth Warren. Chris, thank you for sticking around. I know you're on the downswing of your adrenaline right now, and so if you need to pass out live on the air, you just feel free, my friend.
No, I'm good. I've got my jacket off, and it's a little warm in here, but I'm good. You can see the candidate is behind me doing selfies with every last person who is here, which is a Elizabeth Warren town hall policy item told.
Wow. So she still has the energy to be doing that after a solid hour fielding questions from everybody in that room and from you. Well, how did you think it went, and what did you learn?
Well, I think you get, these circumstances, they're hard. I mean, it's a high wire act. We did this live. You're talking to different kinds of people. And you sort of see a certain kind of political chops, whether a candidate can listen to people, actually hear what they say, actually respond. She's extremely well prepared. Whether people agree with her or not, or whether they come to the conclusion that she is the strongest political candidate against Donald Trump, which are two things to bracket for a moment. What I think is clear is that she has a whole set of ideas of things she wants to do, and a means of explaining them to people who haven't heard them before, and a kind of theory of the case about what's wrong and how to fix it that kind of match together. And that's a certain fundamental part of political storytelling that I think she has a real knack for, and has been doing a very good job on the trail, and I think you can see it reflected tonight.
Chris, I want to play another little piece of sound from the town hall. This was her talking about abortion rights, her talking about the Hyde Amendment. I want to make sure with the control room that we've got that ready to go. One of the reasons I wanted to ask you about this is because this is a very hot issue right now among the Democratic candidates. There's definitely some disagreement among the Democratic candidates on the issue of the Hyde Amendment, whether or not there should be a full-scale ban on funding for anything related to abortion services in federally supported health insurance. But it also struck me that she's in Indiana, in this red state, in a conservative part of Indiana, talking about abortion rights. And I want to ask you about sort of the tenor of that. Let me play the sound first.
A huge part of your story, personally, when you talk about your trajectory, which is a really remarkable one, is making a bunch of decisions buffeted against different forces, right? Can you find childcare? One of those is whether you can control your reproductive freedom, right? Women that are making decisions about whether you're going to go to school, things like that. There was an interesting thing that happened today. Former Vice President Joe Biden came out and said that he would not support repealing the Hyde Amendment. That is a provision of federal law that bars the federal government from funding abortion services through Medicare, Medicaid, and others. You disagree with that position?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Is Joe Biden wrong?
Yes.
So why is he wrong?
Getting my nerves.
Here's how I look at this. I've lived in America where abortions were illegal here. And understand this. Women still got abortions. Now, some got lucky on what happened, and some got really unlucky on what happened. But the bottom line is they were there. And under the Hyde Amendment, under every one of these efforts to try to chip away or to push back or to get rid of Roe versus Wade, understand this. Women of means will still have access to abortions. Who won't will be poor women.
I know what happens after this. He gets killed.
Will be very young women. Will be women who've been raped. Will be women who have been molested by someone in their own family. We do not pass laws that take away that freedom to the women who are most vulnerable.
Very intense moment in that town hall. Obviously, her intensity on the subject is palpable. But tell me about that in the room in terms of how that's greeted there. Obviously, Indiana is going to be a place where you don't have unanimity on this issue, even within the Democratic Party.
It was very intense. And obviously, look, I think there's a certain way in which there's a there's an expression of one's political views on this issue that are just not possible for a man to do. I just think a woman is going to have a connection to that and be able to talk about it in an intimate and way that she did that is very hard for a man to do, frankly.
I just think about it getting the killed. Dun, 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 dun.
This is the thing I think is very interesting about Warren's candidate. She doesn't do a lot of shooting. She
Dun.
doesn't do a
I'm
lot
just gonna die.
She doesn't do a lot of legal threatening.
I wish it was little.
You know, the Trump tax bill.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can.
Are you for
Well,
this bill? Yes, I'm a
If
co-sponsor.
when all it lasted.
Yes, like you get very direct and kind of engraved policy positions that she will then argue and fight
I
for.
can't
Now,
do anything.
people might disagree. Like it is the case that some people will be alienated by those positions because people disagree on stuff. But what you do not get is a lot of gray area hedging and kind of tap dancing.
Chris Hayes, my friend, colleague, hosts the show at 8 p.m. on this network, and the person who is better at town halls than anybody in this business. Chris, fantastic job tonight. Thank you for sticking around.
Thanks.
Much appreciated. Congratulations. All right, much more to come tonight. Stay with us.
Thank you for coming.
It doesn't matter. Children are able to go home. Actually, it's only allowed here.
Buddy.
Or sometimes on the
Live
show.
Clarence in Clear. The one with only save up to $14 on select Clarendon products. Check the Sunday's newspaper for details.
I try yelling and
Award-winning
but
interface.
nothing.
Spiders can be like cats. They hate what?
Award-winning design.
Get out.
Award-winning engine.
Fire.
The Volvo XC90. The most awarded luxury SUV of the century.
Most homeowners drop blank when asked what their home projects should cost. That's why at Home Advisor, you can see what others pay
Oh, God.
for similar jobs in your area. Start
How much are there
your
left?
project knowing what you should pay. Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app.
Oh God, a lion.
What's next? And still going for my best, even though I live with a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, not caused by heart valve problem. So if there's a better treatment than warfarin, I want that too. Eliquis. Eliquis is proven to reduce stroke risk better than warfarin. Plus, has significantly less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis is FDA approved and has both. What's next? Breathing in a nice one.
Don't stop taking Eliquis unless your doctor tells you to, as stopping increases your risk of having a stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking Eliquis, you may bruise more easily, and it may take longer than usual for any bleeding to stop. Seek immediate medical care for sudden signs of bleeding, like unusual bruising. Eliquis may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
Eliquis, the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Ask your doctor if Eliquis is what's next for you.
We have a church where we treat men and women in trouble, such as you. It's a new day, boy.
We should take that money and put it in church.
It'll be easy, just a couple old people.
Let's stay the plan. Game like Pirates Trust. We lock them up, and we take the money, because it's gonna be easy. We probably should get it.
It's not a complicated recipe. It's a homemade one. So it calls for just a handful of natural ingredients, like real sugar and extra cream. Because of Turkey Hill, we found that the simple way is the most delicious way. All natural ice cream.
Okay, quick.
Simple. Extra good.
You already got snacks. They're in my car.
Yeah, but I burped, so I'm not gonna get them because I still have my swimming trunks on. So what about you get them? Because everyone would laugh because I get them.
Nominee for worst road trip ever. Today, Trump campaign figure George Nader was to be driven by 2 FBI agents from Brooklyn, New York City, to Virginia to face a federal child pornography charge. George Nader took frequent meetings with senior Trump campaign officials in 2016. He arranged a meeting during the transition to set up a back channel between the Trump transition and the Kremlin. He was then a frequent visitor to the White House after the inauguration. George Nader has spent the last couple of nights in a Brooklyn detention facility after being arrested Monday at JFK Airport. But the child pornography charge wasn't filed against him in New York, it was filed against him in Virginia. And so a New York federal judge ordered him driven down to Virginia today to face the music. We now expect his first court appearance in Virginia tomorrow. George Nader was a major witness for the Mueller investigation. He was reportedly given at least partial immunity in exchange for his testimony to the grand jury and to Mueller's investigators. Nader is cited dozens of times in footnotes in the Mueller report about Russian efforts to interfere in our election and Russian overtures to Trump and his campaign and his administration. But George Nader was also an intermediary for at least two other countries that were apparently trying to help Trump during the campaign. He was also an emissary for the governments of both Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Now, according to a recent story in the New York Times this past weekend, the interventions by those countries and the contacts between George Nader and the Trump campaign that related to those countries' interests, those are all apparently still the subject of ongoing federal investigations. The New York Times has done some in-depth new reporting on Emirati influence, including possible improper influence in the 2016 election. Reportedly, federal investigators are still looking at that. But here's my question. Are the intelligence committees in Congress being briefed on that? I mean, is that investigation derived from Mueller's work? Is it a totally separate thing? I mean, for all the times that George Nader's name is mentioned in Volume 1 of Mueller's report, the volume about Russian interference in the 2016 election, George Nader's work for the Emirates
Tell me how much
and the Saudis is not addressed at all. Did the counterintelligence investigation that led to the Mueller investigation include any of that stuff from those other countries? And what happened to that counterintelligence investigation anyway? I mean, Volume 1 of Mueller's
No, but.
scary prospects that are just not resolved.
Okay, guys, we're done watching it. So, it's inappropriate, just don't watch it. Boop, boop, boop.
The Washington Post